What's going on, me? What's up, my friend?
I'm very happy to be here, both in physical and digital form. Excited to be rocking with you and Brian in all the ways. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, yes. Sony will not be discontinuing your physical form. You will continue to exist.
Universe kind of form.
Brian Altano, my pizza questing friend. I love you so much, sir. How
I
are
love
you?
you too. We got some OGs out here today. It's good to see you guys, or old heads as they call us. Give yourself some credit.
All right.
I did this week our PlayStation show, and about an hour afterwards, Sony announced
Let's
that they're giving
see.
discs. So it's this is just the thing. It's a moving target this generation, right?
Yeah. And
Let's add this to the playlist.
The quote-unquote luck in terms of podcast recording at IGN's flipped because historically shit happens after we record on Unlocked as well, but lately it's been happening. The Asha regime says we're going to do the bad stuff at the beginning of the week before you guys record. So anyway, now to get serious, we unfortunately do have more terrible follow-ups to discuss. The axe very figuratively fell this Monday. We've been talking about it. Is this studio going to get closed? Is that studio going to get closed? Is that project going to go away? Well, there is a silver lining in all of it, but the whole of the matter is still objectively terrible. Microsoft has announced 3,200 staff are set to lose their jobs at Xbox across the current financial year, which for Microsoft means from July 1st to June 30th of 2027. Half of those folks are already out. 1,600 of those folks were laid off this week. As part of the restructure, here's the
Get started.
four studios, the ones we've been talking about on recent episodes, are leaving Xbox to new management, but not shutting down. And then a fifth one is in consultation over its future. In an email sent to staff and reviewed by IGN, Asha Sharma called it the most significant restructure in Xbox history, insisting Microsoft's gaming business, quote, is not healthy. Overall, Microsoft's gaming business is losing about 1/5 of its staff. South of Midnight developer Compulsion Games and Psychonauts developer Double Fine Productions will return to management and transition to independent studios with their IP, catalog, and with, quote, runway for their next games, Sharma said. We don't know what those games are yet. In Double Fine's case, the studio retains the Psychonauts IP, among others. Meanwhile, Hellblade developer Ninja Theory and State of Decay developer Undead Labs, quote, have entered terms to join new ownership with funding to complete and grow Senua and State of Decay 3, end quote. This suggests both games will be released eventually, developed under new ownership. Microsoft did not say this is Warner Garble that thought we'll come back to it. Marvel's Blade developer Arcane will now see its management undergo required consultation with its first council to, quote, review potential strategic options of the French labor law. With they think of potentially selling or spinning out the studio, they're still on the fate, specifically. Elsewhere, there are layoffs across other parts of Xbox, including Activision, Bethesda, ZeniMax, Blizzard King, Mojang, or Mojang, I still don't know how that's actually pronounced, Obsidian id Software, and Xbox Game Studios. So before I go through, I don't even know if I want to read Asha's full memo. It's just a bunch of, it's all bad. But let me go to God first. What are your thoughts here again? And it catches my surprise. None of it really makes it get much better. But now that Peter exists, what do you think?
And that's conscious of this the actually can be a spot way that you want to and a very true statement and one in which that, the Band-Aid has been ripped off in the kind of most unfortunate way for all the human lives that are going to be upended by all of this kind of corporate maneuvering. And it winds up being a thing where, the conversation from the audience and the community has been one in which we have been constantly talking about confidence in the brand. And I don't know if this kind of overarching maneuvering of people and resources and assets changes that for any of us who are fans of the Xbox brand, of video games, of this industry, of any of the things that matter to the human beings who are now trying to figure out the 1,600 that were already gone, and the other half that are looking over their shoulder every day and saying, am I next? So it winds up being this really just like hard kind of new landscape to understand what does it mean to work in a corporate structure when corporate structures and creativity always are at ends in some are at odds in some ways. And this kind of bubbles that up into an even more and kind of bigger understanding of what that means moving forward, not only for them, but for all the big names in the industry and all the big spaces that we've kind of known and come to love. So it is a really, reckoning kind of day and reckoning kind of month, and to be fair, couple of years. And this is kind of the combination of what we've seen in this discussion.
Well, Tano, you're on our PlayStation podcast, but you play your Xbox a ton. You and I talk all the time.
Yeah.
You've been around this a long time as well. What do you make of this week of Xbox?
Yeah, I think Khan nailed it so far. I totally agree. I think that's my biggest takeaway from this is that there are 1,600 people that still have their jobs but will lose them. And like you said, looking over your shoulder, I just keep thinking about like when you're driving and there's a cop behind you, and if you're doing nothing wrong, you're going to start driving worse because you're just watching everything but the road, right? I worry about that, and I think that that's specifically designed so that these people working at Xbox can quit and they don't have to be out. Which sucks. It's cynical, but I think, like you said, Ryan, the silver lining is a couple of these studios being able to retain their own IPs, being able to still exist. The runway makes me think that maybe they were given some budget for X amount of months or even years to continue, and so I do hope that we still see games come from these guys, because like these are some of the most talented studios in the world. I love my Series X, Series S. I bought like every Xbox on launch day for pretty much my whole life. I want them to succeed. I don't know what the future of their brand looks like, and I completely understand people not having a ton of sort of trust in what this looks like going forward. I also see that this is a problem we're seeing kind of across the industry, right? I'm on our PlayStation show, I'm on our Nintendo show, and I don't. It's the only podcast I ever hop on where it's just like, hey guys, we got a Nintendo Direct for Splatoon or whatever, and it's not, or they're like, hey, we gave everyone a 10% raise. Like it's not like we've closed 15 studios. It looks like we're never printing
shit
again. Like it's rough out there, and so
I wonder if I could on the map here
that things get better. That's the best thing I can possibly say is to be optimistic, and then things turn around for everyone, because I love this medium, I love this hobby, and I think that more and more people should be able to enjoy it, and more people should be able to make video games.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before here. I firmly believe that the gaming world is better with Xbox in it, but it's got to be a healthy Xbox. And like you said, Kai, is this the Band-Aid ripping off? We don't know if it's going to get better from here. Like, this might be the death spiral of Xbox for all we know. Like, we look back in 5 years, maybe, or maybe this is the hospital stay in intensive care, and in 5 years you're out like running a marathon. If you're I don't know. I hope so, but we just don't know. I mean, one thing I've definitely learned, there are probably some podcasts I need to go back and delete from the internet, because I'm never gonna cheer for an acquisition ever again. And like that's one thing I've learned, because it is never ending well. I mean, the examples of them ending well are getting fewer and farther between.
I'll say this because I think I get roasted online for that conversation a lot too, because when the conversation Ryan became joining Xbox over there, I was like, I think it's right that we're looking at this and looking at where it's going to continue and how to take stuff out of the space. It makes sense to me. Back up to the vision, I'm not going to achieve the it's making sense. And I also think that I think it's keeping those things in context. There's a way to be able to say, yeah, I didn't get it right. And also, there's a way that there's an in-between space where we don't have to Monday morning quarterback everything. And I think there's a space where we can say, like, hey, under the information and with the information that we had and with those conversations that entailed those things, in that moment, it made sense to say X, in that space, and say, now where we are in this moment, looking back at that thing, oh wow, well, those things didn't pan out. I think the conversation that we're probably going to dig into, especially around Game Pass, and a lot of the pieces that I'm seeing online across so many different pundits has been, who do we blame now? Right? Is it Asha? Is it Phil and Sarah? You know, you and I have joked on this podcast many times. I think we have done that, right? To be in that space for a long period of time and put a lot of this blame on that era of where we are kind of moving towards and kind of we tried to get away from this in terms of the Xbox brand and trying to fix the things that were broken during it. I want us to be able to say those things out loud and feel like we can be honest about those pieces and say, look, we got it wrong, and now we see what happened, right? And you can then take that point forward and say, here's what I hope to see. So, I'm with you on that part. I get that part all the time on the internet, and I was like, everybody needs to calm down a little bit because you can't get mad at people who stuck their neck out and said, here's the thing I thought made sense, and now have to go back and try to fall on your sword. It doesn't make a lot of sense because we're never going to be able to fix the past. You can just look at what's happening now and speak to it honestly and truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my recollection of what I mean, there are all the receipts are on the past episodes of Unlocked, and people are welcome to go back and forth. But what I definitely felt strongly about at the time, and I would still say now, is the reason I was, or at least probably the main reason that I was happy about the Activision acquisition at the time was for the culture issue. Like we called it. We said Microsoft and like Phil Spencer, and they need to come in and they need to fix the culture here because it was extremely toxic. There were all kinds of crazy reports about just people, and specifically women, being really mistreated within Activision Blizzard. And I mean, I honestly don't know if that's been fixed. I haven't heard any new lawsuits or anything. That's not to say that bad things are or not happening. But Bobby Kotick's out. If you want to look,
quest complete.
That as a good thing, as a bad thing, I would probably call that a good thing. So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Kyle, that there's only so much kind of revisionist history you can do. But I guess what I'm saying is I am done just like actively saying, hey, this company whose platform I play on, buying another company is a good thing. I mean, on the Sony side, look, has Bungie, has that $3.5 billion, has that worked out for Sony? Has that worked out for gamers with Destiny now being sunsetted? And we don't know what or if Bungie's ever going to get to make anything again. So it's certainly not a problem, a situation unique to Xbox. But we're in a world now where, forget it. I'm not cheering for any acquisitions ever again, unless the company that's being acquired comes completely out and says, we would be dead and gone if not for this acquisition. Then I'll say, okay, great, I'm glad you're still alive, but, short of that.
Yeah, it was probably the case with some of these smaller, I'm not going to say, Double Fine straight up wouldn't make it without big money like Microsoft's coming in every week, but it certainly didn't hurt, right? I think it allowed them to create a leeway to make some really interesting, cool things that they probably wouldn't have been able to do if they were just wholly independent. Like a game about making pots. Like you can't. That's not the thing you can just do on your own, right? You need. That's like Renaissance painters used to have, like rich guys fund them.
That's true.
So they can make cool stuff, right? That's effectively what the Patreon platform is built around, right? I think that one thing that none of us really could have predicted is this sort of, I'm not going to call it a collapse, but what happened with Call of Duty last year, was one of those things that it just absolutely did not hit the same expectations they probably would have predicted when they were thinking about this acquisition to begin with, right? That was far and away the biggest video game franchise, and last year it just didn't reach those same numbers, and at the same time it didn't drive Game Pass subscribers, and it had, with Battlefield, it had its first real competition in a while, and I don't think anybody could have possibly predicted that, because this was the safest bet in video game history, right? A new Call of Duty game would come out and it would become the best-selling game of the year. It would, make the most money and consume the most hours from the most players, and now people have options. And so I think it was kind of a miss last year, and it didn't drive Game Pass in a meaningful way. It didn't drive sales in a meaningful way. It didn't drive console purchases in a meaningful way. So you're just left with this sort of thing, which was the big centerpiece of that acquisition, right? And it just didn't hit the mark last year, and that doesn't mean it never will again. I never count a
I think this year's game's going to be big. It's Modern Warfare 4, Infinity Ward back in the saddle. I think it's got a great chance to be a very, very big hit this year.
Yeah, and I think that's what there's a lot of confusion with consumer sentiment these days, because you get mixed messages, right? It's like, you can play Call of Duty on launch day on Game Pass, except now you can't anymore. And on the PlayStation side, they're like, our first-party games are coming to PC, so you can play Ghost of Tsushima, but you can't play Ghost of Yotei. So you get these people who, they get into an ecosystem, they get excited about something, they expect a level of cadence, and then it just vanishes underneath them, and they're kind of like,
come on, fucker.
Doing here, so there's no rhythm, there's no routine, and I think consumers are just kind of confused, and they end up being standoffish and not really committing.
So let's talk about the 4 studios that will live to fight another day. This is a good thing. Arcane is TBD, but the reason that matters, besides the obvious jobs won't immediately be lost, is I think back to IO Interactive. For those of you that have been around a while, you may remember that IO Interactive was owned by a big publisher for years. First it was IOS, back when it was still a thing, and then IOS got bought by Square Enix, and so Square owned IO for a long time. They did some Hitman games with them. They did plenty of games.
I think I went the wrong direction.
When IO just no longer fit in with what Square wanted to do, and instead of shutting Square down, they were able to negotiate with, I don't know who initiated what, but the bottom line is that IO was able to live on, and it spun off back independently again, and Square sent them out with the Hitman IP that they had created. And, I don't know the particulars of it, so I don't necessarily want to deem Square some glorious, benevolent knight that gifted them the Hitman. But however it came to be, IO got to be independent with the IP that they had created, and then they were able to successfully revive and reboot Hitman, and that led to the deal with the 007 folks, the rights holders, and we just got the best Bond game maybe ever, or at the very least since GoldenEye 30-something years ago. And now, that studio, yes, they were affected by the Xbox layoffs, because we talked about it last week. Project Fantasy was going to be published by Microsoft. That's who was funding it. That's not happening now, and so one of IO's satellite studios, unfortunately, did get shut down. There were some jobs lost, but as a whole, the studio continues on. They've got Hitman in their back pocket. They're probably going to get at least another Bond game with Amazon. It would be kind of stupid of Amazon not to greenlight that at this point. So to me, that's the best case scenario here for Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Compulsion, and is the one I'm leaving out.
Undead Labs.
Thank you, Undead Lab.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag is back. Step back into the Caribbean. More breathtaking than ever. Engage in epic lethal battles. Raise the black flag once again. Available now.
Labs. Yeah. So, on that note, I want to go to you guys. Where do we think, let's take a little break from the darkness and say, okay, these studios are alive.
Oh, fuck, man.
again, Undead Labs and Ninja Theory. Where do you guys think, who bought them? Like, they're mystery buyers right now. And so, Ka, I'm going to go to you first. Let's start with Undead Labs. We know the game is State of Decay 3. We've seen the game. We haven't specifically played it yet, but some some State of Decay community folks have. So it's a real thing, and it was scheduled to come out next year. We'll see if that still ends up being the case. But when you sort of survey the landscape, who do you think would have picked up Undead Labs and State of Decay 3? Do you have a shorter list?
I mean, I don't even really fully have a good, like, who would be a good fit is different than who has money. I feel like that's the kind of way I've fallen on that, where I know the folks that have money are Tencent. Tencent has money. The Saudi groups have money. Embracer just has bad, like it's been bad for a long time, and no one would sign a deal with them probably anyway. But I'm sure that they still have some.
Well, they've been selling off stuff.
Yay!
I feel like they also still have some tendrils in some spaces to be able to do some potential like additive things across a bunch of other secondary.
Hello.
To Justin, please.
Forever
Young.
have money.
Where is Justin?
Those two. And I don't think Undead would go with Saudi money because of the conversation politically and what that looks like and the backlash that you'll probably get if you say that out loud. And Tencent might be the smartest move to kind of do it, but it also doesn't feel like a game that it would fit under their portfolio, which is the hardest part. It's like, again, it's fit versus money. And I don't know who else would be in that mix currently that makes sense for them in a bigger way that's able to deal with, again, the amount of folks that are in that studio, how far along they are in terms of development, which is pretty close still in terms of almost at launch. I think we're probably another year away again. I can't remember if they shared a date.
They did not. Yeah, so call it a year. That's
Justin
fair.
is
About
Justin
a year, so
Studios.
probably out from launch.
Justin, incredible.
To factor all those pieces in, maybe
Where's
Tencent.
Justin?
It could be Tencent. That would be my guess.
Autonomo, you come up with any names for this?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Khalif on this one because I think, well, first of all, I think of the announced games that spun off from this, detonation, State of Decay 3 is probably the one that would bring in the most money of grips, theoretically, right? So I feel like that's the biggest guaranteed success out of all of these, at least of the announced projects that we know about, right? Like there's obviously games that we haven't seen.
Lights,
It's huge hits,
camera, action.
It's like a game made by two people could become the most successful thing on the scene, and no one saw it coming. We're in our meetings every morning where Miranda's announcing guides that we're writing at IGN for games that were, a guy made in Roblox that is, suddenly more popular than Minecraft. I'm like, I don't understand this. I'm really happy for the success out there. I'm
in the Navy.
Confused old man. But yeah, I think with this one, it's difficult. I understand.
Ma Baker.
An apprehension around taking money from certain investors politically, and at the same time, I also see some of these studios having their backs up against the wall, and if it sucks because it's like video games cost so much money to make and take so many years now. That you really need somebody that's going to stay in your corner for a decade and then back you up financially.
Give me a reason.
Kind of holding your nose politically or closing your entire studio. I don't know what the types of decisions these studios would make. The studio heads would make in a situation like that. And so I do see State of Decay 3 being successful. I think it's the easiest slam dunk open world zombie game. Like that's just one of those things that that prints money in the video game industry if you position it in the right way. And it's
Yo, Eli, what's up, man?
Do we play?
So I think of everything that's going to be.
Another side quest.
And I think this studio is at least for
this is Podcast Unlocked by IGN. It's the Xbox podcast.
I went to my friend's house yesterday.
But yeah, we're just hanging out, chilling, listening to React content.
So I started with kind of like
side questing.
and the answer is
Xbox.
like you were saying, like
The side quests for this game remind me of Xenoblade 1. They're very
because they just got bought by this Saudi private private equity thing. I don't think they're going to be going out and spending any more money. They're probably still in portfolio valuation mode where they're deciding, like, are we even going to keep BioWare open and let Mass Effect get to the finish line? Like, I hope the answer is yes, but I don't see EA. Nintendo, we can definitely rule out. I think we can probably rule out Sony. Maybe not 100%. Because
Italy.
The question is, if Sony buys them, Xbox ain't seeing that game, and PC, maybe. I guess they did say they would put live service stuff on PC, but Sony might have to ask themselves, do we think we can make money on this with just putting it on one console? So
yeah, I think the new Mass Effect will be good.
They're not exactly in a great spot right now, financially. Warner Brothers, they're kind of caught up in this Paramount thing. Like, who knows? Yeah, so that seems like it's too uncertain. The Japanese publishers seem unlikely, just as like the kind of game. I mean, Capcom's already got Dead Rising. What do they need? State of Decay for? Same thing like Bandai. It doesn't seem like the kind of game that Bandai would put out. Koei Tecmo and Square Enix has pretty much gotten out of the entire Western game business, and they're kind of just back to doing Japanese RPGs mostly.
Mario
So
Kart World, please.
the one that came to mind.
Do Mario Kart World, please. I had a whole 3-hour stream on Mario Kart World not that long ago.
They're not a. They don't seem to be right now. NBA 2K makes them a gold mine every year. Their parent company, Take-Two, is about to ship the biggest game of the last 20 years in of course, Grand Theft Auto 6. They also have been...
When they drop more content, I'll go back to that.
With the 31st Union game that's been developed for like 8 years, there was an unveiling of that like 2 years ago that came and went. I actually have forgotten the name of the game. But we had sent Stella to that, and she came back and went like, yeah, and that seemed to be everybody's reaction. And studio management has since she turned over at 31st Union. So, and the other thing about 2K is that and they've also shown that they're patient with development processes before with certain with lots of their studios. So I actually think 2K makes that's the one that again, I think Tencent's a good shout, and then I acknowledge that you could maybe a wild card comes in like a Nexon, maybe an Amazon, maybe even like a 505 kind of comes in, but that's kind of where I landed as far as the
yes, sir. This is PS5.
UK was the one that seemed like it made the most sense to me.
Think about how crazy it is that you went through a list of like so many of the most kind of like formative video game studios that have effectively created the fabric of the industry as we know it, and we grew up playing all their games and they're like, they can't do it. They're like it's just crazy to me. It's crazy how different things are, and a lot of that is because they've already taken their bets back to they didn't pan out, Like over on the PlayStation side of the last 10 years, making every studio, a games as a service studio, and almost every single one of those efforts failed. And it's whoever would take a bet on this. And like I said, like this game will make money.
I don't know. What do you guys think about State of Decay 3? Who's excited for State of Decay 3?
And then we can move on. But Ninja Theory.
There's Cyan from
we just
elementary
named
school.
basically everybody. Who might make sense on for Ninja Theory?
I'm really not sure with them. I'll put it this way, I don't know how they keep sort of pulling it off, because
I agree.
they make these incredible looking, seemingly high budget video games that I don't necessarily think and they're sticking with this very specific franchise, and
I agree.
It's a darling among people that play these games, but for the average consumer, I don't think they're really getting for renew this franchise. So I find this an interesting one because you're effectively paying for like a darling. Like you're really getting.
Hey Sam.
Maybe you will. Maybe they'll pivot and they'll find some way to connect with larger audiences. But like this is they make like indie movies basically, right? Like this is like this. So you would need somebody that is confident in that and also has enough big games under.
Yeah, there's a lot of enemies.
Yeah, and you know, something where it's like they get a fancy that do really well, and they can use it to offset the more experimental, smaller ones. Right?
I got the one for the epic ship hold of it. Because of the shout.
Do we play?
Unreal Engine game. Unreal Engine game technology partner that they've done that work with many times in terms of showing them at the State of Unreal. They are in that space where they can do cinematic work for virtual production and other kinds of larger cinematic pieces in that space, and they do each other really well. Like you know what you're going to get from a space, and those two companies working together could really bolster what they've been trying to do.
A little bit of salsa.
Proprietary tech that make it into Unreal in some smart ways. So Unreal might be, I think, would be a really good spot for them to land.
That's way better than what I had written down. I think you actually. That's
you're Sam.
That makes a lot of sense. Because what I had written down was in my notes. This may sound crazy, but Sony. I wrote down Sony, and the reason I did that is because Ninja Theory's been in business with Sony before. Twice. You can go back to 1, Heavenly Sword. 2, remember, Hellblade 1, Sony published that as what turned out to be a timed exclusive before it came to Xbox later. So there is a business relationship there. They definitely make Sony-type, cinematic, beautiful, narrative-driven in their first action adventure games.
About a depressed person. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me what you think of that game, Eli. I don't think I'm getting that one.
The movies the reveal of Senua that we just got seemed to be shouting from the top of its lungs, look, we have combat and gameplay now. Get across in that reveal. So, I
don't think I'm getting that one.
They're going through some of their own stuff right now, but if you can get them, pick them up.
Shouting and swearing.
Basically on sale, but on clearance sale, on the clearance rack.
That's what we do here, shouting and swearing.
But I do think, Epic
I got my tickets for Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Day one tickets?
How crazy is it that the Xbox Game Showcase a month ago was
Go to the
effectively a
movies
yard
with
sale?
David,
Like it
please.
was them being like, look at all of these games, and then being like, hey, please, somebody buy them. Because we're done funding them. Like it's so that is a month ago. It was a month ago.
I'm sorry, you meant to say a year ago, right, Brian? Because that's
just the day after.
It feels like it was years.
No, we did. You guys did a whole pre and post show at IGN Live. We did a watch party. There was hundreds of fans in attendance. It was part of that big old school E3 feeling of like
August has no holidays.
Weekend of showcases, events.
August is.
Really
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. August is the most boring month of the year.
There's a way my friend's mom can take me into the movies.
I'm telling you right now, August is the worst month of the entire freaking year.
They knew the whole time, and I don't know if
August
that's
is the
good or
most
bad.
boring month of
Showed
the
us
year.
those things, gave us that glimmer of hope and excitement.
Let's talk about it from a sports watcher's perspective.
It's just crazy to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is.
No, from a sports watcher's perspective.
Going independent,
Okay.
My dad's birthday is in August.
which is what they were before.
Oh wow, both your dad's birthdays in August. Wow.
What do you guys
Oh,
think?
really?
Like, I
Um,
agree with what you said all the time.
In September and October, you get NFL. Hey, I gotta mute this. This is distracting me. All right. In September and October, you get NFL and you get baseball, right?
And that is all I can ask of
And college football and
My dad's
stuff.
birthday is on August 16th.
On November, you get college football and football. And the start of like college basketball season, the start of NBA season, the start of hockey season, right? Yeah, NBA starts in October. And then, but I don't really watch it that time of year. But I'm just saying, like, you have plenty of options.
Forever young.
December is like you get bowl games, college football bowl games. You get the college football playoff. You get NFL. January, you get more college football playoff. You get NFL playoffs. You get the Australian Open for tennis. February, you get
My
the
dad's
Super Bowl.
birthday is the 24th of August.
You get Daytona 500. You get college basketball. NBA starts heating up. Hockey starts heating up in March. Going through March, you got March Madness, the college basketball tournament. Freaking April is NBA and hockey playoffs. April and May. And in May and June, you got French Open. There's, back in April, there's the Masters. There's freaking U.S. Open in June. NBA Finals, NHL Finals in June. July is Wimbledon. When the World Cup's going on, obviously we got that going on. When the Olympics are going on, that's going on. You got the British Open, the Tour de France. And then, like, the third week of July, everything dies.
The townsfolk have made their minds up.
Like, sports dies on Sunday, July 19th. Sports dies. That's the end of the season. That's what I call the end of the sports season. And then it really, yes, it does kick off with NFL preseason in August. But NFL preseason sucks. And college football doesn't start till late August.
That's the end of the season.
So, like, for 5 weeks, from like the third week of July until the last week of August, sucks dick when it comes to sports.
Read my messages, please.
I am trying to, sir. But yeah, it's
Say the word, please.
It's hard, asshole.
Brandon.
But yeah, it's difficult, man.
Brandon.
It's
They'll come around.
You know, and even when you look at game releases, a lot of your best game releases, like you look at this year, is July has some good game releases, right? But August is pretty dead, and then you get to September, there's a bunch of stuff. October, there's a bunch of stuff. November's GTA.
Who forged it? To yourself be true. That was her point.
You know, but August blows, dude.
Her life was taken with a blade of her own making. But I do not doubt.
Justin is on my baseball team.
She believed in.
Nice.
The end. And so must I be.
But no,
And now?
My iPad is at low battery.
For only unite. I'll need to make
probably the best month in all of sports,
Possibly be for the best.
to me,
Always give the towns.
It would not take it.
has a full month of stuff to do.
And so just
November.
you're going to
Are you doing UF 329 on Saturday?
No, I'll be at the bar.
this. But it seems you hadn't.
We're gonna watch the fight, but we're gonna watch it at the bar.
Forget it. Do what you will.
No.
But I am doing multiple streams on Saturday. I'm doing the women's
I'll be at the bar.
I'm doing the Wimbledon's women's
I
final
went to
on
Daniel's
Saturday
house
morning.
yesterday.
That'll probably be when I finish Final Fantasy 16 in the afternoon on Saturday. And then I'll be doing Norway versus England
Thank you.
for the World Cup. So I'll probably do a triple stream on Saturday before I go to the bar.
A.
Because tomorrow
I
I'm
went
going to
to
go see
GameStop yesterday.
GameStop. Tomorrow I'm gonna go see Evil Dead Burn with Scooter. So tomorrow I'll be doing the stream of Spain versus Belgium. And then that's probably it. Maybe I'll do the Final Fantasy 16 boss.
Go to your house, please?
Maybe tomorrow. It's iffy.
Justin swears.
But I have the Evil Dead Burn. Me and Scooter are gonna go see that. All right, let's go over here.
X. Do Pac-Man please. I
Pac-Man?
forgot my PS5 at home.
Because I have a mind to make a killing.
Next doesn't hit,
I hope.
they could be in
Well,
really grave danger. So the question is,
Caravan carried with
what
it
do you
all
think
the
they
way.
might do hit-wise?
I mean, they have to do something that is going to
We're trying to clear up this map of side quests.
get to it right now. It sucks, but this is
eagerly
not the
await
part
your
where
safety
you
and above all,
try something that's sort of like whimsical and experimental, like they're
Keenan.
yeah.
Just listen.
I probably won't get college football until Tuesday.
From the studio, and they were unabashedly proud of their sort of
Does Brandon
game
say
jam
the S word?
ethic, right? Which was like, hey, we gotta.
I also want to play through the MW3 campaign
And they have something. This is what they came up with, and it's
too. So
it's original. It's unlike anything else in the industry, and we need
Do
more stories
Uncharted
like
on the
that.
PS5,
and at the same time,
please.
right now, they kind of have to. Do
which one?
to succeed financially.
All right, where the hell are we going?
It's when you bring out the classic recipes and you don't make something too weird and too experimental that that's a big risk. And so yeah, it's
Which
probably
one?
Psychonauts, right? It's the thing the closest thing you can get to
Possum
recognizable
House.
franchise that is pretty
Brandon.
acclaimed that sells well.
Dan
that is
Payne.
underneath their sort of purview, right?
Who's
Right.
Dantham?
Great. Khalif, any thought? Are you in agreement there? Do you have another idea of what Double Fine might do here?
I mean, they have to go. They have to.
Fuck, man.
Also,
It's annoying.
Who's Dankaman?
I said the same thing. Yeah.
We accept multiple quests at once.
71,287.
So I'll just do that.
Fuck man. It's
creativity in a lot of these ways. They are still amazingly creative at what they do. It feels like
I'm gonna make Sekiro one of my yearly games cause I like it that much.
Wow, that's quite an accomplishment.
So one of the space where I'm like, man, if there's any space for them to be able to fold into that fold, so that they don't have to do another Kickstarter for their next game, so that they can figure out a way to continue to get
Yeah, I wouldn't say Super Mario World's a yearly game for me, but it's every few years.
It makes the most sense. They're good folks. They already work inside the same ecosystem. They put out games on the platform, and they just have a good understanding of like
would be complete
that
without mentioning
quirkiness
other
that is going
crystals.
to be going away. They
Who's
still
crying
have
now?
a space, and it's a space where they can still be creative and potentially get something else.
What are we doing, man?
So like, pick them up. It makes most
Igloo.
I know. Like 10 minutes ago, I said I'd never cheer in a position again. But
right.
you're right. If the choice is
I thought I was in the igloo.
independent or Double Fine with
What are you
Nintendo,
doing now?
I would actually
Ladder.
prefer the Nintendo scenario because I feel like they would be safer.
This area sucks.
Yeah, I brought that very thing up when these rumors on this podcast, when these rumors were first kicking up about Double Fine. Yeah, 100% with you. The one I'll
Matthew
give you is I
swears.
also agree all the time. I think Psychonauts 3 is the no-brainer way to
This
go
area
for
sucks.
them as the next project. Like, 'cause with Tim
I'm about to just leave the area and go somewhere else.
Liam is not a common name.
Kill. So Tim was a
Yeah, fuck it. Honestly, I don't.
Liam is an
The-
uncommon name.
The quest markers are like in the way of each other. Buildings are in the way of the quest marker. Let's just get out of that area.
gonna
Ash is
move
not
on.
a common name.
and go do Psychonauts 3, because that stands the highest chance of getting a publisher to pick it up and fund it. But I'm gonna throw one other
AJ is not a common name.
less likely scenario, one other thing out. And that is, there's recent historical precedent for this, and that is a Banjo-Kazooie game with Microsoft. And the reason, what I mean by that is,
Can I go
Toys
to
for
your
Bob,
house, please?
who just announced
Yeah.
Toys for Bob was of course under Activision and was acquired as part of Microsoft's acquisition.
Gosh, I'm gonna have too many quest markers up at the same time.
You see that too?
Toys for Bob announced
This is gonna get dumb.
negotiate their independence
Hi,
from
I'm Sam.
Microsoft.
I know Eli's hoping that I get frustrated with side quests and I just do the main quest. That's what he's waiting on.
Those guys are probably like
I finally got a
really
PS5
relief right
yesterday.
now that they were not subject to these layoffs and potential studio closures or spin outs, and they've got a contract to do a game, and I wonder if in the short term that could be the case with Microsoft, where maybe
I went
maybe
to my
Tim,
friend's house yesterday.
who had been on this podcast after Psychonauts 2, and I asked him, like, well, would you guys do
Nice.
Like, it's rare, it's busy with
Forever
Sam
young, I
Beans.
want to be
Tim
forever
had said here
young.
at the time that they wanted
Forever young, you want to be forever young?
to them, but I'm wondering now if
Can I go to
Microsoft
your house,
wanted
please?
to dip into the
Nice.
Rare catalog, if they might sign up an independent Double Fine to do it. Probably less likely, but again, the Toys for Bob thing means like we can't rule that.
Do you have any fresh water?
Yeah, either way, it's a bummer that this franchise has been gone for so long. You know?
Yeah.
Do we play?
Yeah. So, okay, the next thing I wanted to
Hey, you're just holding out that I'll do we play.
I want to read the whole thing because it was crazy long, and Khalif's got a hard out. It's going to be Altano and I to take this thing home. We're going to have to say goodbye to Khan in about 15 minutes here. Actually, a little less. So there's
Go over here.
that reads as follows.
That
This
I'll
doesn't
do
really
we
have
play.
anything to do with the studios or the games or anything. It's just, but I think it's very, it stuck out at me, put it that way. Quote, today in some parts of the company,
Can I
work
talk to
passes
Justin,
from as many
please?
as 14 layers of
Where's
management.
Justin?
She goes on to say, we will reduce management layers to no more than 5, and where possible, 3. We will deliver success through a organization that is built around makers, individual contributors focused on building,
Where's
layer
Justin?
coaches, leaders,
I don't know.
team, and directly responsible individuals for DR upgrades.
Can I talk to Paul, please? I don't know.
What?
That's a too many cooks situation for sure. Absolutely. I mean, it's like.
Alright, let's see if we can change the
Mr.
attribute
Zach.
upgrade abilities or
Right.
whatever.
Business is not thrive. There's no.
Alright, then we got
You
some
can
ability
make anything
points.
With 7 or 8 people above you saying yes or no, like that's crazy to me.
But Khalif, how does that even happen? I don't understand how you even get
Mr. Warren.
Mr. Warren.
Can I go to your house, please?
You have the permission. For 1 like, you can come to my house.
It's crazy. That's like making all
Do
of
we
it.
play?
That's the case. The thing that winds up being interesting in all of this stuff is that goes back to the conversation.
Did you go to Publix today?
That's when you have an acquisition. You don't
No.
people that you're pulling them in from whichever company you're pulling them in from directly, and they have a job that needs to be filled within that corporate structure that you wind up putting in there. The sad part is, the 100 seat, at some point, if those numbers don't continue to stay good, those are the first people to kind of go within that space. It also winds up being something in which, with this new management structure, conversation.
Can I talk to Justin, please?
I do want to look at that.
Yes.
Because there were a ton of really tenured, like vastly.
I'm not sure I trust those two.
Let go in this
Brandon.
playoff situation. You're just talking about FanFest. The person who started FanFest got let go.
Yes.
Half the studio, it got let go. With, the folks who are going to be working on Quake.
Quest nearby.
Are probably all gone. There's so many different layers of what happens during these conversations that winds up again going back to the
Brandon from Miracle League.
that it kind of rears the head again of like corporate structures are continuously in flux.
Who's Brandon from Miracle League?
And we're all trying to figure it out in real time, and people are making bets that usually sometimes don't pay off. And that's the hard part about all of these corporate conversations. And 14 layers again is
My iPad's at 1.
Yeah.
1%? Oh no, they're gonna charge it.
Who's Brandon from Miracle
in any
League?
way, but like, I don't understand.
Call Brandon.
Creativity cannot thrive.
Let's go, Brandon.
With
1%.
That's ridiculous. Like that's not. It's just. That actually boggles my mind. To the point I don't even know what to
Question
say.
com.
It seems so stupid.
Yeah, and video games, the sort of intersection between.
Okay, let's go back to the map.
It's art that has to make money at the end of the day. Yeah, so I understand. Like, no matter what you're doing, and it's not a charity case to develop a video game. You ultimately need to sell a product and make that money back. And so obviously you do need some oversight there, right? You can't just have 100 people.
The map's getting cluttered and crazy and weird, so.
David's birthday.
We don't really have anything to show for ourselves. But on the flip side, if you're every email chain has that thing where it looks like, staircase.
Can I go to your house,
That doesn't
please?
help anybody. That doesn't help anybody. And so, yeah.
Sure.
They need to.
David's birthday is July 7th.
Players are there to
Well, his birthday's over.
And that is exactly now that is aiming to do. IGN obtained an email from Brad, the head of Xbox Studios and Bethesda Game Studios.
His birthday's over.
And while it doesn't tell us too much of what we didn't really know, it's reaffirmed the idea that Xbox is going to be doubling down on its biggest franchises, which we talked about on last week's podcast. I laid out a whole thing of how I'd like
Hi,
to
I'm
see
Sam.
them execute on having
Sam, what's up, Sam?
and Halo come out more frequently. So I refer back to last week's episode for my maybe not so crazy plan about that. But here's a quote from Jill Braff's email from the tippy top of Bethesda. She says, "To best position Bethesda for future growth, we are shifting from a planning model primarily centered on what's next for each independent studio to one that focuses on our strongest franchises and determining the content roadmap that best serves our players and Bethesda as a whole." End quote. And as sort of part of this, Bloomberg has a report this week that says Microsoft's restructuring of Xbox will see Bethesda focusing on a handful of franchises going forward, meaning the whole of Bethesda, not just Top York's Bethesda Game Studios team. Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake. Khalif, id Software just lost over half of its team, which I have a personal, emotional, horrific reaction to, because that studio is responsible for some of my favorite games and my best gaming memories ever with the original Doom games, and their recent ones have been so good. But sort of setting that aside, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake, we're probably never seeing an original idea outside of those ever again. Are we?
No, that's the part that kills me. Like, I said this when Asha's initial memo went out. I said, we are now going back to the conversation about remakes and reboots, and that bothers me and that makes me frustrated because, I'm rooting for everyone to win, and I know what you have to do to pay the bills. But man, that does not bode well for a person who, who's looking at the space and saying, as a person who loves new and loves innovation and loves to see people be able to think outside the box and try new things.
Hi.
Do we play?
If at anything, they got a chance to try something new. Fail, succeed, whatever that may be, that team got to do something different that changed the way they thought about their next game and informed the way that they believe about kind of their pathway for success in that space.
Can I talk to Justin, please?
Everybody in that mix.
Justin, where you at?
To be the factory and make me a Fallout game as fast as you possibly can. The thing that is going to be the crux of all of that really quickly is
Plus nearby.
the biggest part of this conversation I think we're all missing is that all of us and
Justin,
a vast
where you
majority
at?
of the gaming base now is hungry. We grew up with these franchises. We love these franchises. We hold these things very new.
Our first friend named Justin.
The people who are in the mix who are making a lot of the decisions in terms of the culture are not genuinely if they are playing number one, a lot of them don't care if
My first friend named Justin.
How many Justin friends do you know?
Also satisfying all the
One.
It puts all the studios
One.
How many Justin friends do you know?
I know like 3.
It's a very difficult space for
Edge is not a common
I want
name.
to keep this going with you. I know you've got to step out on time with keep this conversation going.
That's the end of that.
Spawn on
I
me,
know
everybody
like
go
3.
check it out on YouTube, on your favorite podcast service.
Or maybe not.
Can I
It's
go
always
to
a
your
pleasure.
house,
Thank you so much
please?
for joining us.
Yes.
What name ends with X?
To believe just
Yes.
Yes.
it's now gone with her chance. And I saw this expressed on social media I found out last week on this podcast and on social. They said, well, if Xbox is going to be doubling
What name
down
ends with
on its
J?
biggest franchises, A, Call of Duty's not meaning
Can I play with David, please?
Obsidian, who's awesome, and In Exile, also awesome. All 3 role-playing developers. You open in a development circle of sorts with Bethesda Game Studios, and you give each team, with Call of Duty, each team gets 3 years, and so you get a game coming out every year. With these big RPGs, you give each team 6 years. And that gives you 2
David's birthday is July 7th.
AAA game every 2 years. It seems like it
Talk,
would be
please.
Microsoft's business game.
I think that's a much more doable scenario.
I'm by your puppet on a string.
I was thinking that it's just crazy that successful TV shows based
Traffic.
on Fallout and just that right. You know, it's what they were saying about bringing in new audience and stuff like that. Graphics and stuff. That's the perfect intersection, right? You meet them in a different medium. They go, hey, I like the show. I like this. I like this brand, this IP, whatever you want to call it. Where's the new game for it? And they're like, well, we don't have one. That's
Hi, I'm
just crazy
Sam.
to me. It just, it was completely caught off guard. And, Nintendo had a different sort of situation where they're like, we've got, it's been forever since it was
Sam I am. Sam like green eggs and ham.
like, oh, we also got, got a new Mario Galaxy bundle, and we've got Mario Kart. Go play that. Go play Mario Tennis, whatever. There's new games with the guy with the mustache. Yeah, right. We haven't gotten a new Fallout game in forever, or a new Twisted Metal game in forever. And so yeah, it's a bummer because the plan you're projecting is a smart one, but we wouldn't see these games come into fruition for like half a decade at least. And it's not to say just how we're hearing that the next Elder Scrolls game is at least 2 years.
Why am I adding Final Fantasy VII into Wii Party? That is a big no-no.
And I mean that's theoretically when the next gen consoles are going to start to roll out.
Canoe.
I guess. If anybody's excited.
Good news.
Raise your hand if you're excited for
Bob's house.
$1,000 next gen consoles. Anybody? Anybody in the back? Hello? Anybody?
Is anybody sick of your Xbox Series X and PS5 ratings? They told all the stories they could tell over there. No, we did that math at Beyond this week about it. There's only been like a handful of first-party exclusive games you can only play on PS5. This is basically, it's just a weird generation.
X-Ray.
It was built on the sort of haunted burial grounds of the 2020 pandemic, and it never really truly recovered since then. Yeah, I think the thing that I keep coming back to is what does a company like, what does a brand like Xbox do right now, being in third place and having to figure out how to sort of save the ship here? Because I look at it, you and I are both right. It's been up and down in this industry, and we've seen companies come and go. We've seen, Sega making consoles and then becoming a software platform, like a publisher. We've seen the Nintendo Wii U, which we thought was basically the end of that market. And something
that is a little more common name than
they were in last place. They were able to consolidate.
Yeah, AJ's more common than Liam.
And into one thing, and launched the Nintendo Switch in 2017 with a flagship Zelda game, and they were able to use successfully a bunch of leftovers that were in the back of the fridge for the Wii U era and position them as new titles to a new audience.
Xavier is not a common name.
It is so different.
No, it's not.
Xbox is in a very difficult situation because we're now post-pandemic, right? Where Nintendo had consoles on the shelves in 2020. These guys had to launch brand new things in 2020. There's all the chips are down for them, literally, like with data centers and everything, making everything more expensive. And so if Xbox were to come up with this brand new sort of thing that disturbs the industry, right? That basically just grabs everybody and disrupts. What does that look like for them? Because that's kind of what they need to do. And there's the talk about Helix and basically being a gaming PC. I think that's a smart move because it's going to give
character named Xavier on GoNoodle.
On the PlayStation side with the
with
the disc announcement. I think people are starting to look at any platform that's just a singular closed ecosystem, and they're apprehensive about it. And so, if you can get a box from Xbox and it plays all your Xbox stuff, and you can also access, other digital storefronts in there, maybe there's something there. But dude, every new console, every single, so the Steam Machine pricing,
House.
and them talking about how the price could go up. We're seeing price increases all the time. You and I we're old enough to know that this is insane. That our systems that we bought in 2020 should not be more valuable than they were then. They should be old and crusty. There should be cheaper, slimmer remodels.
All right, let's see if we can get closer to where we actually need to be.
Now than it's ever been, and I'm really interested to see what they do to pull out of this.
Yeah, something Khalif and
That's still 1,000 yards away. What the fuck?
Soft ice cream.
So I'm gonna raise it with you now. It's
Assassin's Creed Black Flag is back.
Z is for zebra.
Locked. Why is it all locked?
Still 1,000 yards away.
Jeez, dude.
This is only a small piece of the puzzle, but it speaks to what you're asking, which is how does Microsoft crawl out of this hole? Basically.
Why is it locked?
And
I gotta figure this out.
Travel.
The Sony killing physical media thing, and how it could relate to Xbox. And the way that I wonder is, does Microsoft double down?
How do I change quests?
And an optical drive, a Blu-ray drive, in the Helix.
There's a character
and
named Xavier in
publicly commit,
KU.
say, hey, we still believe in physical media. We want to help preserve this
How do
industry.
I
We've been
change
to work
Quest?
on it with backwards compatibility in the last couple generations. Because you can speak to this better than I can, being more in the PlayStation ecosystem on Podcast Beyond. Like, Altano, it seems like I'll say it this way, and maybe some people in the comments won't be happy, but people don't seem to stay mad at Sony for their stupid shit nearly as long as they stay mad at Microsoft for their stupid shit. But this time,
Can I go to your house, please?
It doesn't seem like it's going away.
Yes.
No, and so, big one. Yeah, I wonder if there's an opportunity, again,
Say
not
the
that
D word, please.
including a physical media
Dickhead?
drive, console suddenly fixes all your problems, but this physical media rejection by Sony is landing so painfully and so strongly for a lot of people that I wonder if Microsoft did commit to it, or
Can I
Sony
talk to
won't.
Justin, please?
If that might be
I'm going back to my house.
one way where the door cracks open and maybe some of those PlayStation.
You going back to your house?
And looked
Thanks
Xbox's
for a
way in
great
two
week at my
generations.
house.
Might look over and go, oh, well, maybe I should see what's behind that door.
I think any
Ladder.
company that commits to continuing to print physical versions of games that aren't just code in the box are going to win a lot of goodwill right now. The comments we talked about this on Beyond this weekend. I'm not shocked, but I was kind of surprised at how many people in the comments were like, the PS5 is my last PlayStation console.
Yeah, exactly.
PlayStation my whole life. This was a big one for them. I think this is up there with
Xavier.
which is funny because it's people are.
Gosh darn it, dude. There we go. This way.
Which
We need to go this way, this way, this way.
Video game landscape forever.
Oh yeah.
I need to get over here.
Gosh darn it,
Xbox
dude.
One before it even
Yes. Yeah. And I think
Javier.
that
Ah, damn it.
Don Magic that same weekend and all of the announcements around the Xbox One.
we have a console for people that don't have an internet
I need to
connection.
get
It's
over
called
here.
an Xbox 360.
Yes.
Baffling, right? But I think
God
that this
damn
is
it.
up there with that.
The
It's
Javier
it's
books.
very ironic in the long tail of it all because it's them doing the opposite of that won them that moment, which I think won them the next two generations. And we all know this, but a lot of the stuff that Xbox was trying to do at the time just became industry standards anyway, which is interesting. Like the whole always online thing is pretty much everywhere
Yeah.
now. The digital only thing is pretty much
There we
everywhere
go.
now. And I think that ultimately and obviously on PC gaming, people have bought discs for the PC games forever, but you do have multiple options of different storefronts, ecosystems.
There we go.
There's ways to preserve games there, playable games,
Zion
all this
National
stuff.
Park.
And so I think that people are starting to look at these really closed ecosystems. And they're like,
What soup ends
yeah,
with
I don't
G?
know if I would buy into them, especially if it's $1,000 only getting more expensive.
What soup ends with G?
It is.
I don't know, you tell me.
What the different costs have been.
What plant ends with A?
So if you look at the Xbox section of most video game sections, big stores these days are physical. Right?
I
Banana?
believe
The
you tell
Xbox
me.
One has been specific.
Banana?
Like it's I think it's halfway through this generation when we start noticing, hey, there's
What
only
pork
6
ends
games
with
on the
Z?
shelf in Target that have the Xbox label on it. What
Banana.
happened here? So yeah, I don't know where they go from here. I do think that something like that, at least giving people the options. Because I said about Beyond this week, I don't know if the next PlayStation will even have a disc drive on launch day. They might have some optional thing.
What pinata ends
Definitely
with
not
P?
happening. There's no way that it's so different.
What pianta ends with
What
P?
world ends with M?
It's the only question of is there an external buyer? That's the one that they already sell for PS5, the PS5 digital. Is that compatible? But yeah, honestly,
What song ends with W?
Which looks so stupid.
yeah, no, it's like Microsoft has not been
What math ends with M?
media lately. Like there have been physical like that. That has not been their bag. But yeah, it's the thing that like I'm sure Microsoft would like
Does
to
Brandon say shit?
stick it to Sony and get a little maybe a
Yeah.
maybe they do see Sony's physical media stands as an option. The thing that I think is very much at odds with that, particularly in this current environment of
Forever young.
escalating hardware prices, is Microsoft's going to want that bad enough to spend money on every Helix to include in the bill of sale, the parts cost, and as much as I would like them to say yes, but I'm not.
The final
I'm not
countdown.
optimistic if I'm being honest.
Yeah, because it's not just launch day consoles having a disk drive on them. It's
the final countdown. Do 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 do.
Generation, and with they bought Call of Duty. That's the game that fills up everybody's hard drives every year, right? Like it's hundreds of gigs, and so you're looking at a situation where you're putting games on multiple Blu-rays and something, right? Like
it's the final countdown.
I don't see them committing to it. That said, if this is 15% of the player base right now, that's a significant number, right? If Sony lost 15% of PlayStation generation to generation, like that would be great. That's a
Eraser. Not to eat erasers.
A minority, but they're open and they're important, and I believe in the consumer freedom and flexibility. People wanting to have the options.
What about when you saw Zion?
And to own things, yeah, and to borrow things, and to take a game on the work, and to your friend. So video games are expensive. If you spend $80 in a game and beat it in the weekend, then let your friend borrow it. It's game that's you gotta make it for it.
Zion National Park, I don't even know where it is.
I think that's such a big part of it. I think it's exactly where. And this, we love this industry so much because we are able to experience it in so many different ways. Played so many different games and I've told so many people I worry about gamers who basically just only being able to experience is missing out on something really awesome. It's incredibly groundbreaking. It's too expensive and it doesn't make sense to spend $70-$80 on a game you're going to beat in a couple days that you won't ever see a penny back from because it's a digital file that's locked to your account and you tweet it and move on. Yeah, gaming getting
nice.
Where mobile games are the only real way that a younger generations play and understand video games is like my worst nightmare because not that all mobile games are inherently bad, but I am of the belief that far too many mobile games aren't, and they are designed to kill time and or extract money from you over more and more time. And that's, your daughter's a little younger than mine. Mine's 14, and she went through a little Roblox phase, which I admit maybe it was just me kind of being a grouchy old man saying, that's terrible, and I don't like that. But regardless of that, I was so happy when she went out of that Roblox area, and now she has a Switch, and she's playing Ori and the Blind Forest and Will-O-Wisps, and I got her, she wanted Meat of the Hollower for her birthday, which I got her. That's awesome. And it's like she's playing what I would call as a old man on a pedestal.
Last destination nearby. Where though?
And yeah, we need that future preserved for future generations.
No, we're doing our part. I mean, you and I as fathers, it's funny. This is a very anti slop house when it comes to video games. But it's fucking, when I see my kid will play everything, right? Like we'll play so many different console games together that we'll play on every single.
Close.
And a big part of it is because I buy games, I get access to games, and I share them with her. Her friends are not doing that. They're not doing that, right? They're doing because they're playing 1 or 2 games a year. Maybe they're playing Roblox or Minecraft or Fortnite or whatever it is. And I get it. There's a certain level of FOMO that comes with.
All right, it's back this way.
Playing the same game and being like, what about me? Why aren't I playing this too? Or like, all of Fortnite's business model is based on that FOMO. Like, well, you better log in, you better do this thing, or you're gonna miss this. You won't get to play as Bugs Bunny and Shaq or whatever the hell it's going on any given week. And so, yeah, it's changing. And I don't think this is just like it's kind of old-fashioned Luddite of me to say that I hope console gaming stays forever, because I think there is something wonderful about it. I do think that it's
got to be around here somewhere.
Dedicated box that plays video games is awesome. And I think that's a really good thing. I think that there are so many different use cases for a phone or a PC, but man, it's really nice to not get work emails on my Xbox. It's really nice, and so I do think that, and I am hopeful. Probably
where is it?
Optimistic that we'll find a way through this darkness, right? And then I think Xbox has been really smart about their whole sort of play anywhere strategy. I think this is an Xbox.
Gosh, dang it!
Not as good as they had hoped, but I think that the message there was good, which is, hey, look, if you have this game and you love it, you can play it here.
Where's the Quest?
Like, I thought all of that, I really loved.
For F's sake.
Play anywhere, out gaming, quick resume, all of that stuff was really smart. It was this really fascinating intersection of like intelligent hardware decisions and really cool, formative and futuristic software decisions, which is awesome. And I hope they keep that going, right?
Absolutely. There's one.
Someone else, let's this.
Golden Plains like the Wanderers have pulled home, I wonder.
It's fine. More discovery with favorite phenomenonas, like the illustration of was the bonus season.
Now we gotta go help people customize and save hundreds of rare gifts.
Who's the Quest?
So it's these stones to Canva, and the rest of the boxes to Dallas.
One more big topic we got to hit before we wrap up here. I know we've been talking for a while already, but it's Game Pass. That's during all of this. It's
damn, man.
Become the signature feature, for better, and a lot of people would argue for worse, of the platform. And as
we're going around fucking circles looking for this shit.
Game Pass has failed to grow as Microsoft had expected it would, with reports indicating that it's way off of where Microsoft thought it was going to be. So the Wall Street Journal, not exactly like johnsgameblog.com, like a Wall Street Journal, said that Microsoft had expected Game Pass subscriptions to hit around 77 million this year, but it's currently at about 30 million.
Come on, quit fucking with me.
Microsoft trial of 2023. Microsoft had over 100 million subs by the end of the decade, by 2030, which obviously seems pretty likely as we sit here, unlikely, pardon me, as we sit here in 2026. In an email to staff, Sharma admitted that Microsoft's strategy had failed, and a key part of that failure had
I was gonna cancel Disney Plus, HBO, and Hulu, but they gave me 2 bundle all 3 for $10.
Sometimes when you go to, did you already try to cancel and then they offered that to you? Sometimes when you try to cancel something, they'll give you a good deal to keep you around.
Install base and a higher cost structure. To grow, a bet on Game Pass, multi-platform, and a broader portfolio of content.
Yeah, sometimes that'll happen. They're like, are you sure? And then they'll be like, here you go.
Our core business weakened and we added more teams, more investment, and more time.
All right, I can't find that. I can't find that quest.
The industry is facing the most severe hardware crisis in its history. We must reset Xbox. So, Altano, at what point do we have to have a serious conversation about the very real possibility that Game Pass, as this grand experiment, which I think on paper, a hell of an idea, and acknowledge that Game Pass is in sum total, like history might judge Game Pass.
So I going in circles around. Look at this fucking quest.
I think you're right, and it pains me to say that because I think that, like many things, they were sort of ahead of the times there. I think that on paper, the Netflix video games or whatever is, those are some pretty good buzzwords, right? It's a smart strategy, and I love the fact that you can launch Game Pass and have access to a bunch of games that you might not have ever played.
All right, what's going on, bro?
Maybe outside of your comfort zone, because there's no, outside of the time, there's really there's no loss there, and obviously the monthly subscription costs. And I was put onto so many awesome games that I would not have otherwise. But I think at the same time, it continued to condition the audience to not purchase video games. We do know that there's a good group of people who subscribe to Game Pass, play a game, use the Game Pass discount to purchase a game, and then own that game afterwards, right? Or whatever air quotes you would say in an all digital era. So there is that, right? There are some positive takeaways. But being 47 million short of expectations, not great.
just a little bit off.
Yeah, not great. And so, yeah, I think that conditioning the Xbox audience to largely not purchase games, and then increasing the price of Game Pass, and I think it priced a lot of people. And I said, I was like, I was a subscriber since pretty much the beginning. I thought it was but like I said, it put me on to so much cool stuff. Once my Game Instant subscription went away, and all of my entire game library had to triangle and said you can't play it anymore. My Xbox started to sort of feel like a dead ball, and it bumped me out. And the same thing happens with PlayStation Plus, obviously. Once you stop subscribing, you stop having access to those games, and those games you thought you had them because they were just on the front page of your console forever. And so I could see them in the next few years sunsetting this program entirely. Maybe doing
you think so? It feels like it's too intertwined. It's like Iron Man. It's like Tony Stark. The shrapnel is like embedded in the heart at this point.
Wait, what?
There's no way to get out without killing the patient.
Well, I mean, I think that's spot on and terrifying. But it's Call of Duty. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier, right? Like, I think that the Call of Duty last year is a significant reason why we are where we are. I think it ties back into Game Pass. I think that was the game to be like, hey, you don't need to spend $70, $80 on this game this year. You can just get a subscription for it, get some exclusive content, yada yada yada. And I think that was really increasing for like any other year that probably came last year. And so, yeah, I think it is not really interested, and it pains me to say this, on playing, because like I said before, playing more than a couple of games a year. And I think when people see before these IPs that are new and different, maybe they're not so interested in trying them, and it's a multiple choice paralysis. Maybe that's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like when you turn on the TV after a day, it's having the screen. Sometimes you just throw on some comfort. You just play it. You just watch Terminator 2 again because I mean, unless you bought it on PS5, then you can be able to get it. I was really shit over that game. So I think a lot of people, they look at that and they just go, all right, I'm going to stick with my old standbys, my classics, my favorites, and we're seeing that, that's the conversation before. Don't make anything risky or original. Stick to the recipe, stick to the classic recipes. So yeah, I don't know if I'll necessarily say I see Game Pass disappearing forever, but I do see it being reduced in scope significantly. Yeah. I think they're already starting to train the audience that you're not going to. I mean, think about it. How many day one on Game Pass things did we see over the last few years? That was like their big branding. And I think now they're quietly like, that's not what we're going to do with them, right?
Yeah, they're trying to transition back to exclusives.
Yes.
And probably, you're right, I think we'll see that, we'll see the seesaw go the other way of fewer of those day one on Game Pass and console exclusive.
Exactly. And I think you have the ability, at least with Game Pass, to platform a bunch of games that were already successful a couple of months or years later, right? And be like, oh, you can play it here now. Remember that game? The biggest game of 2024 is now on Game Pass. It's like stuff like that. I think it's like every now and then, like GTA 5 pops on there, right? And people are like, yeah, sure, cool, I'll take it because it's known quantity, it's successful, people love it, and so I think that's where it succeeds rather than the play it day one thing. It's like I think that ultimately cannibalized the sales.
Open it up.
And
what the fuck?
Publishers agreed with that, and we've seen third-party studios say that Game Pass was effectively a net negative for them or for the industry in general. Despite the fact that I think it did a lot of really cool things successfully.
Yeah, and I know you're not trying to pin the entirety of Game Pass's failures on Black Ops 7 last year.
Oh, give me a fucking break.
It was a convergence of maybe bad luck and bad timing on Microsoft's part. Like, if Modern Warfare 4 from Infinity Ward, that's dropping this holiday, had dropped last holiday, maybe it doesn't solve the problem, but it maybe kicks the can down the road a little longer at the very least. But yeah, I hear you, and I'm with you, because to keep the Tony Stark analogy going, like, Microsoft needs to figure out the arc reactor and what that is that can hold that shrapnel in there, but not actually threatening the patient, which is of course Xbox itself. And yeah, it's such a great idea, and as you said, the Netflix of gaming, it's the elevator pitch that sells itself. Like, who doesn't want that? It turns out, like, the business of that doesn't work quite the same way as it does in entertainment, in movies and TV shows. And I think you're right. I think maybe, it's PlayStation Plus. Like, do you ever hear anybody talk about it? Not really, because it's mostly getting old games, right? But that may be the direction that Game Pass has to go. Because you're right, like the cost of development of all of these games, the economics aren't working, where you can't leave the $60, $70 day one sales. You can't sweep those away and get them back from the Game Pass subscription. It's just not going to happen.
No, they need that 70 going on 80 going on $100 day one purchase. Right, and not just people renting it for $20-something a month. Like, it's not. I don't think, because I think about that. Like, your subscription, monthly or annually, is now being split up and divvied up between hundreds of different publishers that are all putting their games on this platform. And I think it makes sense for a publisher that shipped a successful game that is maybe sort of starting to taper off its sales to put it over here and get some money back that way. The other part of it too is, like, you get a game that people have already purchased and you put it on Game Pass. And then maybe they're buying DLC.
Oh, damn it! Get me up there.
Like, there's all these different ways.
I'm getting frustrated with these fucking side quests.
You can figure out how to get money out of you outside of that initial purchase. So, yeah, like I said, it sucks because I think there's so many cool games that I played because of Game Pass, and I don't want it to go away. And I think it is the perfect intersection of everything we've talked about today about wanting younger players to embrace new games and a more diverse library of software and stuff like that. I think Game Pass is one of the best, pathways to do that, right? Because you get
Yo, Eli, are you in here?
hundreds of the games, so whatever it is, and all of a sudden they're playing stuff they might never play before. It's broken down by genre. Like, you can hop in there and just be like, I want to play a racing game. Cool, there's a couple of them. I want to play a kids game. Cool, there's a couple of them. Like I think that's it's a really good idea. And it's, again, ahead of its time, and I hope it succeeds. But it can't succeed in its current form.
Yeah.
I'm ending this stream, and I'm starting up part 16, and we're just gonna fucking do it. These side quests are fucking dumb. I'm ready to beat the boss. I'm gonna end this stream, and then I'm gonna fire up the final part.
Goes back to the original Xbox with one.
So watch out for that.
In every console. That was ahead of its time, and that was a brilliant move. And another one from the original Xbox.
Yeah, fuck the side quest. Let's just. Let me.
We're putting an Ethernet port in every single one of our consoles.
Let me end the stream, and I'm gonna start it right back up.
It's gonna be awesome. And it was. And so those were